Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and you know what's really funny? This is actually continuing the trend of movies about evil developments taking over something or trying to take over something. And then the good guys end up winning in the end, and they get their place back, and they keep it forever. That's literally this movie. You guys see what I mean? How weird this stuff is, and how you can't ignore. I mean, guys, just to tell you how randomly I found this movie, Funland. I was watching randomly during lunch. I was watching Cool Duder. And I used to watch all of his videos all the time. I would come home from school, I would have cookies, or I'd have like a snack, and I'd watch Cool Duder. Or I'd have lunch, and then I wouldn't eat lunch at school. And I would watch Cool Duder, and I swear, I randomly watched a random video of Cool Duders that just happened to mention this movie, Funland. And then what do you know? I decide to watch that one randomly. And then I watch it and it's like, what the hell? But it's like a what the hell in a good way. Because if you guys don't know, see, the reason why I'm talking like you guys watch my videos is because certain people do. And so, but here's the thing. If you don't know, I've always lived in a house from 1864. I'm 23, I'll be 24 in December, and I've always lived in this house. It's a beautiful house in Ohio, and this disgusting company called Kerwin Purple LLC is threatening to take it away from me, and then give it over to a development company so that they can build this huge Stepford Wives style development with, all the little parks and these little fucking contrived areas for people, and they can ride their golf carts across the street where notoriously tons and tons of people crash. There's so many fucking despicable, disgusting things to do with this development. It's not even funny. Like, I really shouldn't even just be protesting the fact that they're doing this and fighting against my house, against the people trying to destroy my house, a house from 1864. I should really be trying to fight the entire thing, because there's just so many things, and it's really disgusting that they're trying to do this to a piece of history. They're trying to do this to a piece of American history. Not only that, my house, the number of my house is 777. And you know what number that is. And you know how evil it is for people to tear a building down with that number on it. So anyways, basically, this is just so happens to be another movie where a development thinks that they're going to take over, and then they get fucked up. Okay, this movie is fantastic. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. It was such an odd movie. Like, somebody in the YouTube comments said that. They had said, this is an odd movie. And I totally agree. Like, there's so many little weird things in this movie that, like, you probably have to, like, dissect it, like, to go through it and analyze it bit by bit, because there's just so many hilarious things. There's so many fun little things throughout the film. The movie is basically all about this amusement park called Funland. And you have this guy named Bruce Berger, aka Neil something. And he's a little crazy. He had a breakdown a couple of years ago, but the owner loves him. The owner, Angus, he really loves him. And everybody, it's like a family. It's like it's such a nice looking theme park. This movie is like taking a time machine back to a place and time that I've never been to. and I'm all for it. Like, it looks so much fun. You know, there were some funny things that you probably couldn't do nowadays. Like, they had, they, they had a bunch of black guys, and they were in farmers' outfits, and they were working at the watermelon station. And the guy's talking about, like, this is how you do the watermelon station. And he's like, you know how to use a knife? And it's so hilarious. This movie is just, this movie was so good. And there's so many other things like that. Like, they're talking about the pizza. Basically, the clown, he promotes these gross burgers called pizza burgers, where you have these buns, and they have cheese and pepperonis on them, and then also hamburgers squished in between them. And, God, that sounds gross. That sounds like a heart attack on a plate. And the guy's talking about, now you take this cutout, and you only put 3 pepperoni squirtles on the bun. And what happens with the bun is it gets transported from New York to Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia, they put mozzarella cheese artificial filler on it. And, like, it's just so funny. Like, the little touches in this movie. You can really tell that whoever wrote this movie, well, I know who wrote it. That's the other great thing. Part of the reason I watched it is because the guy who made this movie, wrote it and directed it, he also did one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Sleepaway Camp 2. And Sleepaway Camp 2 is better than this, but this movie is still really good, and he's so good at satire. He's so good at comedy. The little touches at making you feel like you're in this environment, in this amusement park. This movie. It was a gift from above. That's how good this movie was. Like, it was so good. It was basically like, what if Joker worked at an amusement park? Like, that's what this movie was. And so, what happens is the owner, he suddenly dies. And that is when the wife, she sells the amusement park to this evil family, and they're basically a mafia family. In fact, the father in the family, he is a caricature. He's like a parody of the Godfather of the Don in that film. And I thought that was really funny. He makes this face the whole movie like he's really trying to be the Godfather, and it's just such a joke. And and it's so funny, like, watching, like, what if the Godfather ran a theme park? That's the other thing, too, is that this movie was really, really funny. Like, it was definitely one of the funniest movies I've seen all year, if not the funniest movie. And what happens after that is they start making terrible changes to the park. They start screwing everything up, making budget cuts, firing people. Oh, and one of the funniest parts of the movie, if not the funniest part, was when they had this guy come in, and he was pitching a new attraction in the Wax Museum. And he said, this is going to be the Celebrity Death and Disease ride. And he had these little examples, and he's like, look, this is Natalie Wood in her boat. Ah! And then he's like, here, look, here's Elvis. Ooga-dooba-doo. Ah! He's going through all these celebrities dying, and, like, it is just the stupidest idea ever. It's like, who would ever put this in a theme park? And Like it's such a it's so disrespectful too. And then this girl makes a comment about it, and the godfather gets really mad. He gets really mad. And so what ends up happening is that they end up firing Bruce Berger. And he's not happy with it, and I'll just leave it at that. You know, another thing about Bruce Berger is that Neil, the guy playing Bruce Berger, he was a really good accountant, and he knew everything. He was so good. He was one of the original partners of the theme park. He is a genius. And so you have all these elements at play, and you have all these cool characters, all these great, unique characters. Sorry. And I love this movie so much. Like, it did have a couple of issues in terms of, like, I am kind of disappointed about the lack of body count. Like, there's only one person who gets killed on screen in the whole movie. And there's one other death in the movie, but it's only an implied death. It's not a on-screen thing, and it's kind of like put there as a joke. And so I was kind of disappointed with the fact that, like, you look at the poster and you have this big scary clown, and it looks like this could be a really terrifying movie. Like, if you had a proper amusement park scary killer clown movie, it could be like a masterpiece in horror. Like, I'm just thinking too, like, wouldn't it be even scarier if you went to an amusement park and you saw the ghosts of past, like, carnival workers and stuff? Like, to see, like, an old-fashioned clown just, like, pop up out of nowhere and he, like, scares a kid, or to see, like, I don't know, like, maybe, like, twins, and the twins are, like, laying on the floor somewhere. You know, like, you could have, like, a really terrifying movie, and the poster, it made it look like it's, like, nighttime, and so I thought maybe there would be, like, a really intense sequence at night. You know, for some reason, I think that nighttime is scary, for sure. And I don't know why, but I just do. And I think that, like, to not take advantage of that was kind of a mistake. Like, you know, in Sleepaway Camp 2, the first sequence they had a great night sequence where Angela takes this girl into the forest, and then she cuts her tongue out and she bashes her over the head with the stick and everything. And, like, that was a great looking sequence, and I was saddened that they didn't really have anything like that in this movie. And, you know, really, this movie is really good, though. Like, it is so good that I don't even really care. Like, it has these elements to it, like these parts where Bruce Berger, he is crazy. And there are these moments where he's really, really, like, having these bizarre moments of, like, these realistic moments of somebody crazy, demonstrating they're crazy, and everybody else just doesn't care. You know, it's not like an over-the-top thing like in Joker, in 2019's Joker, where everybody's beating him up and everybody's shitting all over him. No, it's just like him doing these really weird things, and then people just kind of ignore it. And that's what makes it, like, even scarier. Like, there's this part where he's in the cafeteria, and he's asking the cafeteria workers, "What's for lunch today? What do you guys have?" And then all of a sudden, I should explain why I'm coughing too. When it becomes the fall time, when it becomes the winter time, my room gets really, really cold because I sleep in the coldest room in the house. And also my windows, most of the windows in this house have been fixed. They've been repaired. But my windows are some of the only windows in the whole house that are still the original windows from the 1800s. And so, you know, it's a bit off, you know, it's a bit challenging. And so that's why I'm coughing, is because I have a little cold, I have a little sniffle from that, but it's fine though. You know, having a little sniffle is a lot better than having your childhood home destroyed by an evil development company looking to create a community of robotic retards. And so, robotic retard rats, because, you know, like the rat race, like Willard, you know, basically wanting to create a bunch of bosses from Willard, the other movie that I just reviewed. And by the way, like, we should really have like a count where, like, how many movies am I just going to come upon where they happen to be about what I'm going through and then they end up in a positive way. It just shows the spell is being reversed. And so I'm all for it. I'm glad, because that was going to really wreck the year. Honestly, it was going to really wreck the year, and it wouldn't have been a good thing. And I'm so glad that it's not going to turn out that way. So, what I was saying was that the cafeteria workers, they all of a sudden, they all start a fucking flash dance. And so they start dancing around. They're saying, "We got burgers, we got fries, we got sodas, and they're like singing, and everybody's like singing, and it makes Bruce Berger pissed off, and then he yells like, "Stop it, stop it!" And then you see, and it's like nobody was ever singing. And like there are so many moments like that, creepy little moments. But at the same time, you really, really like this Bruce Berger character. He is such a cool character. He's a great actor too. Like, I gotta say, for a small movie like this that nobody's ever heard of before, basically, this is some of the best acting I've seen all year. Like, he played so many different dimensions. He played so many different characters. And I think he's the best Joker I've ever seen. Like, if this guy had played the Joker, because apparently the actor passed away, rest in peace. If this guy had played the Joker, he would have been the best Joker of all time. Like, he did that good of a job in this movie. And then they have probably my favorite parts of the movie, where Angus, the park owner, he comes back from the dead and he has lunch with Bruce Berger, and they sit there together and they're talking, and then of course you see a faraway shot, and I know it's not called a faraway shot, I'm just making fun here. And he's not talking to anyone, of course, it's a delusion. Even though he is really delusional, he is crazy, he is mentally unstable, he's one of the good guys. He is the main good guy. And he's the only one who's fighting for this park. Everybody else is just going to be like, okay, whatever. There's this mafia family in charge. They're really shady. They probably killed the former owner. They did all this stuff. But who cares? We can't really do anything because we're just a bunch of lazy victims. And so I really admired the fact that this movie was all about like this underdog who was trying to fix everything even though the odds were all against him. And what he ends up doing is he goes crazy and he ends up getting the gun. And that's the key, is that one of the mafia family members had a gun that he used to kill the former owner with, and he's just walking around with it in a briefcase. And so Bruce steals it, and he's going to assassinate the next clown, the guy hired to replace him, who's, I guess, he's the national Bruce Berger. And it's very upsetting too. Like, I gotta say, like, remember the movie The Amusement Park that came out, where it was like, oh my god, it's a lost masterpiece by George Romero. And then it was just a big joke, and they tried to have all these like fake sad moments where like, oh, you're supposed to be sad now because this old man offered a kid peanut butter and crackers on a park bench, and she ran away from him, and the parents called him a pedophile. Like, oh, isn't that sad? Like, no, it's just hilarious. But in this movie, you have like a scene where where Neil is entertaining children, and then they're like, oh, the national guy's over there, and they all run to the national guy, and it's really, really sad. And this movie was phenomenal. It was so good, but it's not a horror movie for sure. Like, I would just call it like a thriller satire. Like, I really can't call it a horror movie because it only has like a couple of moments of horror in it, if even that. You know, they did all this thing with having this wax museum. They made a big deal because Bruce Berger had to move into the wax museum, and then he ends up interacting with Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, which is pretty hilarious. And I thought that was cool too. But, you know, you really thought that they were going to do something in the Wax Museum, and they never did it. And so this also did kind of feel like another unfinished movie, similar to Willard, where by the end of the movie, I was really expecting more. You know, at the end of Willard, I was expecting more. At the end of this one, I was even more so expecting more. So what ends up happening is probably another great thing about the movie is that, you know, he's never shot a gun before, this clown guy. And so he misses like a million times. Like, he's just shooting a bunch of different things. Like, he shoots a watermelon. He's terrible at shooting. And so I love that too, because in a lot of these movies, you know, you just have that character. Oh, wow, look how easy it was. He just shot that guy. Wow, it was so easy. But in this, it was so much more realistic to where it's like, oh, he's a clown. He can't handle shooting because he's a clown, and he's never shot before. So it was really well written in terms of that. And when he finally thinks he's going to kill his replacement, the mafia guy who's the killer comes up and tries to get rid of him, and then he ends up shooting the controls, making the ride go faster and faster because the impersonator is on a ride with another guy, and they're doing like this charity thing, and then at the same time he kills the mafia guy. And so I loved it, because then after that, everything got turned around to where Bruce became the hero. And they said, oh, wow, he made it, he stopped an assassination attempt on the impersonator by the mafia guy. Wow. And then all the mafia family go to prison, and the park becomes owned by Bruce Berger himself, Neil. And that is because the whole movie, he refuses to be called Neil. He wants to be Bruce Berger, only Bruce Berger. And then finally at the end of the movie, you see him without his clown makeup, and he is now going as Neil. And it is so, so good, because you're sitting there wondering, in a movie nobody's ever seen before, basically. It has a 4 out of 10 on IMDb. Unbelievable. You're sitting there wondering, is he really the new owner? Did that really happen? Or is he just so crazy that, you know, who knows? Like, it's just so unbelievable and so weird and so strange that, like, you really don't know what to think. And then this guy who worked there, who was on his side the whole movie, he quits because he's like, you know, I know that you had a breakdown and that you were the one who's trying to kill the impersonator. And so then he quits, and he finds a little girl who's been there the whole day, hasn't had any attention because the impersonator clown refused to entertain her. because she won a contest. And that was another, see, there were so many great small touches like that. Like, you just have this throwaway plot where there's a contest. If you win, you get to spend the whole day with the clown. But then this actor, he's really pretentious, this impersonator, and so he refuses to do that. So you're like, oh, okay, so I guess it's just gonna, I don't know. But then you see, it actually pays off. Like, the plot that nobody even, like, remembered pays off at the end, to where the girl was sitting in the Funland office all day long. And so the guy takes her home, and it ends with them singing the Funland theme song. It's a very creepy ending, too. The way that it ends, because you really don't know what's real and what's not. You don't know if Neil, the former clown, you don't know if he's going to kill someone or he's going to do something again or what. Like, it's very, very ominous for just like a light PG-13 movie like this. But I gotta say, like, this movie, it kicked ass. Like, it was hilarious. It was great satire. It was a great thriller. It had a lot of heart in terms of it's an identifiable story. You know, you don't want this disgusting, evil, greedy development company, similar to Kerwin Purple LLC, to do anything to this park, this beloved park. And so it's a very, very good story. I would give this movie, I am struggling. You know what? I love Culver's. Culver's is probably like my favorite fast food. I gotta give this movie a Culver's cheeseburger with fries and a chocolate malt. It is the perfect meal to get when you're on the road. It is the perfect meal to get when you go to Culver's. Of course, anything you get from Culver's is perfect. But a chocolate malt is just going to blow everything away. It's going to make everything perfect. And so I really think that this movie is a perfect meal from Culver's. So yeah, it's just simple but great. It could use more. Like, I really think that it's hard to say it, because, like, I wouldn't say to remake this movie, because I don't think they could ever find an actor like with the original who plays Bruce Berger. But it is tempting to want to make a sequel, maybe, where he gets to kill more people, because the whole point of the movie was that he would kill people at some point. Like, the movie's poster is him with, like, a creepy clown on the poster. It's like a false advertising. It's like a mislead. It's, like, really, really, like, kind of disappointing when you think about it. But the movie is pretty much near perfect, except for that one little flaw. So I love this movie. I have loved everything that this guy has ever made that I have seen. Like, he made another movie which was fantastic called Fast Food with Jim Varney, Ernest, and it's all about these two guys who start a fast food company. The only the thing is, though, is that the sauce that everyone eats on their burgers, it makes you want to, it basically it turns you into a sex zombie. And so you just automatically start having sex with people. And so these guys are having this burger business with this sex sauce, and they're getting laid too all the time. And then, of course, you have Angela from Sleepaway Camp 2 in the movie, and she's really good in it, and I think they sleep with her at one point. It's a fantastic movie. I really think this guy should do more movies. Like, I was shocked to see he's only done like two handfuls of films. Like, he's hardly done any movies. Like, he really should do more movies. He should do some fucking horror movies, and we should all go see them and show them support, because if they're anything like this, then they'll be really, really good. Because I wasn't even expecting that at the end. I thought maybe it's going to be like a dark ending like you'd expect, where he gets killed. No, he takes over the entire park, and the development people go to prison. And so, anyways, please like this video, comment if you've seen Funland, what do you think about it, and then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. And if you hate evil, greedy, disgusting, despicable, cold-hearted, I was going to say another word, development companies. Goodbye, everybody.